and start off with the darkest patch. Can you see this little is darkest over here, and then it goes lighter outwards, and again lighter there, and as it curls around this way away from the sun, that goes darker. So you've got a shading going this way and a shading sort of going that way. So I'll start off here with the darkest bits, because you never know what your pencil is doing. And I'll start off with a feather light touch. So I'd rather go too light in the beginning. It's easy for me to darken him up, isn't it? I'll just get this guy in here, and then as I go along, don't rush this, take your time. What we're looking for is a nice even shading, so I'm applying zero, literally zero pressure on this paper. My pencil is just touching the paper. Absolute feather light touch. Now as you're putting this in, you're just gradually moving over and laying down a tonal value there. What you're trying to do is lay down your lightest tonal value. So even though you've started in the dark, that was just to make sure that you don't suddenly start off too dark in the light area. Get yourself a nice even tonal value all the way across this petal of the lightest value. And as you move up like this, you're gradually overlapping the previous stroke. And what that does is it gives you a smooth, even coating or even shading on this whole piece of the petal. So I suppose by now you've also noticed that we're doing petal by petal, and not even petal by petal, piece of petal by piece of petal. And you can go in different directions as well. It's you know, it's going to be absolutely irrelevant, because you're pressing equally at the same hardness, and you're overlapping the strokes. You should get no lines or imperceptible lines. Alright, so now that I've got that lightest value in, now I'm going to gradually, so I've got this guy in over here, and I'm going to gradually start darkening that. So first of all, I'm going to press a little bit harder with my 2H. Not enough to hurt the paper or anything like that, but just enough to give me a difference in tonal value. And as I come outwards, I'll start again, I'll start there by the darkest, and as I come outwards, I'm gradually pressing lighter and lighter, and I'm still overlapping the previous guy. Each little stroke must overlap the previous one. So I think now you can start to see why the chisel point works so nice over here. Because just imagine trying to overlap individual little fine lines from your round point. Okay, so I'm establishing that little sharp edge over there, and I'll just work my way inwards like this, pressing lighter and lighter and lighter. Now all the while I'm comparing my tonal values with the picture itself. So at this point I am still too light. And then I can see over here, as this, let's go back to this, we've got this little piece here where it's curling up. Maybe we can zoom in on the photograph and see if we can see it better there. Let's go here. Okay, can you see it's dark in this area over here? But also, as this little lip of the petal curls backwards, it's casting, this lip is casting a shadow over there in that area over there. Nice sip of coffee. Same thing is happening over here. You see there's a little bit of an extra little shadow in that area. So you have to look really carefully for those little differences. And that's the secret to drawing a rose. Seeing those little differences. So now that I've got those basics in there, now I'm going to go over to my H pencil. So now I can go a little bit darker. Let's see if I can zoom in a tad more. That. And like that. And so as usual, I'll start in the darkest bits, so that, and all the way back to a feather-light touch. Go to here. So to get that sharp edge, all I've done is I've just twisted the pencil. I'm exaggerating, but I'm twisting it like this, so that just the corner is touching the edge there. And that's how I can instantly get nice sharp edges. And then just like that, I flatten him out, and that allows me to do my shadings. Get that little bit of a shadow in over there as well. So again, we know the shadow is darkest right here against the lip, and it goes lighter. So it's a little bit of a shading over there. And now I need to go darker, so I'm pressing just a tad harder. The minute I feel I'm having to put lots of pressure, or I'm going to have to start applying lots of pressure shortly, then I'll stop, and I'll rather go over to a darker pencil, a softer pencil. Take your time and you can get nice even shadings. If you do have like this little, let's say you've got a little dot over there that you feel is too dark, just take your kneadable eraser and just form a little point and just tap, 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 tap. So even if he initially goes a little bit too light, gentle touch, soften that up again. That's it. And then we've got a little bit of we saw just a tad of a little bit of a shadow in that area there as well. So let's just pop him in quickly. Okay, and for now, that's it on that guy. So now you can move on to the next one. So let's say maybe move to, here's a nice big one over here. That dude over there. So let's start with him, and he looks similar too, eh? So I'll go all the way back. It's still quite light. It's a very light flower, this. So I'll start here, start by the dark, and I'll first get that initial little lightest tonal value in that I'm seeing. If you want to draw really nice roses, the secret is to not rush them. You have to be really patient with these guys, because it's lots and lots and lots and lots of shadings. And you have to really spot these fine little tonal value differences. And that's why we're doing it today, because it's such excellent, excellent practice. Now you'll see these funny little bits. See, like this little piece over here. Funny little bits like that. Get those things similar, but don't kill yourself to get them 100% the same. It's absolutely not necessary. You turn this rose just ever so slightly or whatever, is going to look different. And nobody's ever going to see this and your final drawing, or the reference picture and your final drawing together. Never, never, never. Alright, so I've got that basic. Now I can look for the darkest bits, press a bit harder, and fade it out. Work on getting those nice sharp edges. And you get those sharp edges just by turning the pencil, so you're working with a chisel, or the corner of the chisel. Alright, I'm going to have to start pressing harder again, so that means time for a new pencil. And just gradually build these guys up, gradually build it up. The irony when you're doing this is when you start off, the good chance these first ones that you've done, you're going to have to actually touch up again afterwards. And I'll tell you why. Because you've got this huge amount of white on the paper, these tonal values that you're putting down here initially look dark. And then you continue and you carry on working, and as you go along, you're gradually building up more and more tonal values for one, and for two, you'll actually find that your eye is becoming more and more tuned in to these individual tonal values, and the small little differences between them. Here's just fixing the shape over here. So I have now gone over to a sharp point, just a plain round point. Just want to get nice sharp edges. You got to look really carefully when you're working with the lost and the found lines to get them right, because it's the difference between a looking in effect and distance between the two and those kind of things. This area is quite dark because as he curls over, this is pointing quite a way away from the light. So now the minute I start working with a round point, I'm pressing extra soft. Alright, so I've just got a basic little shading. Can you see over here? It also goes slightly darker as this little lip curls over. So now here's quite a fancy little lip there. Small little shading, eh? So let's get that small little shading right. So it's darkest here in the center, very light there, and a little bit lighter on that side. So what am I going to do? I'll start off with my 2H again, as usual. I'll start off here in the center, because that's my darkest. And now I'm going to look carefully. That little dark bit goes over there. It's quite thin, and he goes a little bit broader, and then from there on he sort of gradually makes his way into the center, and that's where he stays. So that's what I'll do. So I'll do that. Now I go to my H pencil. It looks like there's going to be an H in the end of the day. And let's get that in there. Like that. So quite sharp edges on either side at the moment, but now I'm going to go back to the 2H and I'm going to soften that edge to turn it into a shading. So feather light touch there. Okay, now we can come back here. Darken again, and so I'm going to carry on. To show this really light edge over there, there's only one way, and that's to add contrast to it. You see there? So you've got to put in this guy over here before you're going to be able to see that lightness over there. So let's see, we got that little, tiny little piece of a petal over there. Sharp edge. Alright, let's just go back to a 2H here. So again, here's a very fancy little shading. Maybe zoom in a little bit better there, and you can see what I'm doing, or see what I'm referencing from. So this whole edge over here, right up against that little piece of petal, is dark. But then immediately from there, it starts fading away. So there's lots of little shadings going on inside this little piece of petal. So it's fading stays quite dark up to here. And that's going to show us this little curly bit over here. So this is actually an underneath piece, you can sort of say. And then here, it comes down. And then around something like that. And now I'm going to do the same effect here as what I did there, because it's dark here, and then it fades away to each of those other sides, to the left and to the right. So I've got over to an H pencil now. This area over here needs to go a bit more darker as well. More or less that tonal value there. So I've had to press a little bit harder with my H. You'll see I also often just use little tiny circular motions when I'm trying to ensure I get a nice smooth shading. Alright, let's go back to the 2H. Then there's little edging there. Quickest little shading over here. All the way around here. Okay, let's see. I think I can actually even go over to an HB very, very lightly over here. Absolute feather light touch, as we do most of the time. I'm just darkening up these little dark bits. It just adds extra depth when you do that. Just get those contrasts right. Can you see how this little ridge there is starting to stand up now? So now I can already see that this tonal value on this side was too light. So I'll turn him down. And can you now also see that it looks like absolutely nothing, nothing at all. And it's going to look like this for most of the drawing. So you have to really, really, really just trust yourself. Alright, so let's start doing a few of these little curly over pieces. So there's a nice one running along there on this petal. But before I can do that, I have to do the other pieces around it. So let's do this tiny guy. It's literally you're building a puzzle here. Okay, so I'm getting his lightest tonal value in there, something like that. And here's another guy. So I've got to follow that edge. And there's another little curly up piece. So unusual little piece this. This here needs to go quite a bit darker. Now when you're referencing this kind of stuff, there, even this guy curls, he's curling himself over there like that. So don't be shy to use the printout as a base, sort of a general reference, but then open the actual image itself up on the computer screen. And use that as your final, as your main reference one, because you can zoom in and out on him, and it's going to give you'll be able to see all those details much better. But again, also don't get bogged down with the tiniest little details. Ask yourself, if I stand back, am I going to be able to see this detail, yes or no? And if the answer is no, then don't bother. There. And here's a... Yeah, so there's that guy there. You see here, this guy isn't exactly the way it should be, and I'm not killing myself over it. nobody's ever going to know that this shape isn't 100%. See, maybe I forgot to draw in a line, or maybe I lost a line or something like that. Yeah, so what? So that guy comes to there. So at the moment I'm just fiddling a little bit here with some details and tonal values, just to get them closer. None of those guys are white, so I'll give them a little layer there like that. That should all be okay there for now. Alright, so this lip comes and it curls and it curls, and then here it goes backwards like that. So I've got to do everything around it first. So again, here's another little darker looking in piece. So I'm still with a 2H all the way. So he's dark in there, and as he comes out here, he goes lighter and lighter. And then here's another little curly out piece as well, over there, which I have to now take care of. Alright, so I think I've got most of that lip over there sorted. Let's go to over here. Here we have a small guy over here coming out to there. That guy goes to there. It also goes lighter and lighter over there. Here's another curly over bit. And there's the back of that petal. And here's the back of this petal, and he's darker. So I think I'll actually even start off with an H, because I'm not going to have to get here, I'm going to have to get a separation between there and there. Just go back to here. See, between there and there's a fine little line showing us that there's two different petals there. So I'm giving myself that line there, and he comes all the way around to here. And here again, that little edge as it curls around. So there's another little lip piece. I'm just doing a basic little piece over here, nothing major. All I'm trying to do is just make sure we've got this whole little lip over there all the way outlined. Doug says he's looking at the picture of the rose as well as the drawing, and he can't see any resemblance between the two. No, like I said earlier, you can be quite confused. You have to really keep your wits about you with these little pieces. So don't think of it even as a rose while you're drawing. You've got to think of it as just little areas of shading. When you draw a rose, that's one of those things that I think makes it so difficult for the guys, is when you're actually doing, let's go over to this wide one over here. When you're doing these shadings, when you see it in finished, all those shadings make sense. But when you see them little by little, nothing makes sense at all. So you have to just trust yourself. You have to really, really trust yourself and just keep your wits about you. And realize that what I'm drawing there is going to make sense